Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Powerhouse Ladies in Entertainment and Tech event, powered by Better Youth and the Los Angeles Film School. I will be your moderator this afternoon, and my name is Jessica Young. I am the program manager of campus and online entertainment business programs at the Los Angeles Film School. So, how's everybody doing this afternoon? Everybody good? Please let us know in the chats. We would love to hear from you. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that we have guests watching on YouTube and we have a few guests here in the Zoom. So thank you again for tuning in. I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you to our partners at Better Youth. Better Youth is an organization that validates young people by developing life skills through mentoring and media arts training, specifically on foster and former foster, homeless, and low income youth. So let's give it up for Better Youth. Awesome. We also want to give love to Amazon and Skydance, who both work closely with Better Youth. Through their focus on hands-on mentorships, these awesome organizations are focused on the collective impact of helping to diversify the entertainment and tech industries. And now I'd like to introduce Sid Stewart, Executive Director of Better Youth. Hey, Sid.
Hey, Jessica, thanks so much for having me on this panel to introduce this kind of badass panel of women. I just want to celebrate relationships. I think the key to business is relationships, and the relationship that we've had with LA Film School extends 8 years. So when we celebrate women, we celebrate the women in our lives. Cecilia Berry, who has supported us from day one, Shonda Pierce, who supports us, you, Jessica, and Whitney Braid. I want to give a shout out to her. But I think it's important to realize that humans are being as they're doing. And when we connect to people, just make sure we connect to them authentically. So I just want to just send all my love to Magali from Amazon, Robin from Skydance, and my alumni Breyon Johnson, who is a former foster youth who is now employed at Skydance. Without relationships, our businesses would cease to operate properly. And I just think, as a student, as a young person trying to get into the business, chase people and not what they do. So I'm really grateful for the extended relationships that has caused the success of Better Youth. Thank you, LA Film School. Thank you, Skydance, and thank you, Amazon. I love you all, and it doesn't matter what you do, I will always chase you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sid. That was wonderful. Thank you all for being our partners and bringing this event to life. All right. Again, for those who are just now joining us, let me remind you that if you have any questions throughout the event, please put them in the chats and we'll try to get to them at the end. This is a roundtable discussion. So although I'll be moderating panelists, I encourage you to ask questions of each other so that we can keep this an organic conversation. And I'll be checking the chats periodically to see what the audience has to say as well. So keep them coming in. All right, without further ado, let's meet our awesome panelists. First, we're going to go ahead and introduce Breyon Johnson. Breyon is a 2021 Better Youth grad. She's an animation student at Santa Monica College and currently works as an intern at Skydance Media. Breyon is a former foster youth who possesses strong leadership, advocacy, and communication skills. She's interested in storytelling and working as a professional in the field of animation. So please help me welcome Breyon. Woo! Awesome. Up next, Magali Lamerel. Magali has an action-packed professional and personal life. She has an MBA from California State University, Fullerton, is a Six Sigma Master Black Belt of Process Improvement, a Senior Product Manager at Amazon, and the Irvine Chapter President of Amazon's Black Employee Network. When she is not working across the globe, Magali is a mother of 5 young children, 4 boys, 1 girl, ages 9 years to 4 months. She has a passion for connecting with other women in unserved communities by providing value through having real conversations around common experiences that help our communities unite and foster spiritual growth. As a survivor of domestic violence, she has a voice for those who need additional support and is committed to identifying additional resources to enable others to live their life to the fullest potential. She uses her platform within the nonprofit Phenomenal Women to empower, inspire, and connect with many more women and families to provide insight and tools on how to survive real family challenges and being a better mother while also supporting your family in the workplace. Everyone, please welcome Magali.
Thank you for having me.
Lastly is Robin Mayamora. As Vice President of Talent Acquisition, Robin is responsible for overseeing the recruiting strategy across Skydance's corporate features, television, sports, and interactive divisions. She also oversees DEI, internship, and talent engagement programs. Robin joined Skydance in 2019 following 2 years as head of talent acquisitions at Stars, where she managed a team to handle the network's high volume of recruiting needs across 3 offices. Prior to her time at Stars, Robin has served as a talent acquisition leader for both large global organizations and digital startups, including the Walt Disney Company, Maker Studios, Beautycon, and Omnicon Media Group. Robin graduated from UCLA with a Bachelor of Arts in English. So let's get a round of virtual applause for Robin. Woo!
Everyone.
Awesome. So before we jump in, we at Laughs like to make sure that everyone's comfortable, the energy's good, there's good vibes flowing. So what better way to do that than to kick it off with a vibe check? You guys ready? All right, here we go. Let's do this. So this first one's for Magali. So if you had to cast a character to star in your life story, which character would you choose? But before you answer that, you have to choose a character from an Amazon Prime TV show or movie.
Okay, well, this is, if you know me, you know that because I have a very busy action-packed life that I don't have a lot of time to be watching different movies. So it actually is very challenging for me to come up with something, but one show that I've actually had the time to kind of decompress around is Upload. And if you've seen that show, I really connect, I think resonate with Nora. She is like the guardian angel to Nathan. She's a truth seeker, and she's actually there to do whatever she can to kind of uplift and uphold like the morals of the community around her. So I think Nora from Upload.
Wonderful. I think season 2 just launched, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah, I love that show.
Binge watched it already.
Yeah. That's funny. All right, this next one is going to be for Breyon. So if you had to choose, which album or song would be the soundtrack to your life? I don't even want to, I couldn't even answer this, so. And don't forget to unmute there. Oh, there you go. No worries, all is good.
I would say Simon Says by No Party for Cow Dong.
Oh, okay.
It's basically represents because the band is a band from Taiwan, and because they have to fight so much with their music and their lyrics, Simon Says is basically about having to stand up to that and not having to play the game of Simon Says.
I like that. I love it. All right, Robin, if you could put together a dream team of employees using characters from Skydance Project, which 5 characters would you choose?
Oh, it's hard. I would say I would definitely, Grace and Frankie, I would definitely have a Grace. She is a powerhouse. She is a leader. And she does love a good martini.
Yes.
I would say from the old guard, Niall, who is definitely the heart. She keeps people on track and together. Probably again from Grace and Frankie, you always need somebody in legal. Always know that you need the legal and the compliance. I would probably say Saul. You always need a reacher because he's so good looking and he is the brawn. Yeah. And probably Adam because Ryan Reynolds is so funny and just to add a little more spark into the day.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. I love that. Now let's try to get them all into a room and then we can try to
Yes.
plan this out. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so now we can do kind of, whoever wants to answer this question first, go for it. But we want to finish these sentences here. I represent for. Let's go ahead and answer that one first. I represent for.
I can go first. I would say I represent for kind of everyone. I feel like that is our goal. In my role, that's it bringing more inclusivity and being for everybody is important, and being everyone's champion is really critical to widening our circles and widening our networks.
Absolutely. I love that answer. Now, good luck everybody else on answering this question, finishing the sentence. Who would like to go next here? Breyon, do you want to go ahead and finish the sentence? I represent for.
I represent for a course from our foster youth, and specifically for people who don't really have the strength or the voice to speak for themselves. I think that's important. I think I come from a place where so many people look down on me, but I'm still able to rise to the T from just being myself and being strength in myself.
The phoenix rising from the ashes there. I see this. Wonderful. Magali?
I represent for the underserved, and similarly to Breon, like I'm always looking out to like, how do I uplift those around me? If there's somebody that is not being engaged in certain conversations or discussions because they, feel like they're isolated, I'm always going out to go support the underdog. Like, how can I uplift them? How can I be the voice? How can I help create change?
Wonderful. I love that. So I want to go ahead and dive into a little bit more of your background and a little bit of an overview of your day to day and what you do for work. So everyone has had, different roles over the course of their careers, but you guys can go ahead and answer one at a time. How would you specifically describe to students what you specifically do today? Breyon, do you want to go ahead and start with that as a, student, I suppose?
Ask the question again, sorry.
Yeah. How would you specifically describe to students what you specifically do today?
I'm definitely a storyteller. I think that's one of my strongest talents. I'm able to come up with a story really quickly. And I also, most importantly, able to understand the character's feelings in each scene or their relationship with other people. And I think I'm able to build that message with other people through my work.
I love that. I love that. Magali?
I am a product manager, so I come up with the vision and the strategy for new events or for new products, and being able to kind of disseminate that information across different teams so they can actually execute.
Wonderful. Robin?
Oh, I do a lot. I oversee all of the recruiting for Skydance across most of the divisions except animation, just because animation is a different kind of beast. And then I also oversee all of our diversity, equity, and inclusions initiatives and all of our talent engagement and culture.
Wonderful. So I can kind of see that you all are advocates, for more diversity in this space. And in the past few years, they've been a cultural reckoning for both entertainment and tech. So my question is, what are the most significant changes that you've seen in the past few years? And then where would you like to see these industries go in the next few years? Robin, do you want to go ahead and answer?
Sure. I think, things have been, and I've been around for a long time. So I think, I have had many conversations about where things were before. I think, we always saw things about, there was that one person that was always yelling at somebody, or the harassment, or all those things that were kind of just normal and normalized when I was, starting, and that has changed a lot. The value of having a safer work environment has changed a lot and continues to do so. I will say safer because obviously there are things that still happen, but not with the frequency or the expectation that happened before. And I love that. I love that people have more of a voice now, that it isn't just you are given a directive and you do what you're told and then move on, that things are much more collaborative, that people are meant and women are meant to, be able to thrive and not have those fears. And that is something that I really hope continues, that we, people of color have more opportunity. And that is something that is being pushed versus something that is either settled for or not done at all. And all of those things are going to make our workplaces a much better place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Magali, do you have anything to add with this?
Yeah, I just think being able to have a conversation about race, like race is taboo, typically like you would definitely never talk about race in the workplace, but just being able to open up those conversations and being authentic and being able to understand where everybody's coming from culturally, understand what their perspective is. But like specifically from a tech angle, like, there are certain things that, if you go to computer engineering school or if you're a computer science major, just certain terms that are just, just standards that nobody questions. And through, this last couple of years, we've done a lot of, reevaluation on the terms and if they make sense. And so if you're familiar with hardware, when you refer to hard drives, there's a master and there's a slave, right? If you think about, giving people access to, certain, files or, locations, you'll say whitelisting and you'll say blacklisting. And so, tech companies have done, their part in being able to kind of look at what has been, in place and come up with new words for things that have kind of just, nobody has questioned in the past. So I think race, being able to bring that to the table, have those conversations, and then go and remove, those things that are, been integrated within, the industry and work.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize that, and so I'm glad that you shed light on that today. So thank you. Breyon, I'm very interested in your perspective. I'd love to hear from you on this. And don't forget to unmute there. Yep.
Sorry. One idea that I have is that we explore more ideas. Well, what I like currently is that we're exploring more diversity when it comes to stories. It's not just the usual, like, one kid with the family and stuff like that. We're like finding different stories. But what I really wish is we would go more into what it is to be human and the way we think. I feel like we focus too much on what makes a good guy or what makes a bad guy. And I feel like it would be so much of an understanding of different people if we like melded those together.
Yeah, I like that. I like that perspective on things for sure. So let's take a look and I want to know this kind of perspective of how things have changed since you first stepped into the industry. And I know some of you touched on this a little bit, but and Magali, you mentioned, the changing of names based on the tech world and all of that. But is there anything else that you can think of that's changed since you first stepped into the industry? Breyon, do you have anything? You're already unmuted, so I figure I'll ask you anyways. You mentioned stories, and so it makes me think that that's potentially where you're wanting to go as well in animation. And so,
yeah,
I think for you, your journey's sort of getting started in some ways. And so, but I think it's good to maybe recognize the things that you're noticing as you go along this journey and how you can contribute to that.
What I'm currently learning right now is that a lot of companies like to stay in the line of, like, for example, for Marvel, like they know that there's a demographic that they know they will get paid for, so they're not reaching into any like their own stories. So it's kind of the same thing, the hero saved the person. It's over and over again, but with a different flavor. I would like them to discover more stories besides that, you know, to go out of their way of like, okay, I understand we have to make a buck, but like, you know, get more
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah. Robin, Magali, anything else to add on to that?
Yeah, I also think, I mean, in talking about, you know, kind of like rates, and I think this is a bigger conversation of, you know, a lot of Black filmmakers saying, okay, we don't need any more slave dramas. Like we've done that. Like this is now, how are we thriving, right? Let's show the world as it is versus what people expect to see. And that's going to make a big, you know, it's a harder thing to sell, but it'll create that shift in perception if we can show those stories as they are. Like I will say, to me, I feel like, oh, now I'm forgetting the Asian film that was so big, Crazy Rich Asians, to me is not like an Asian film. I'm very excited that there were a huge cast of Asians. I really enjoyed it, but I feel like that was more of a class film than it was an Asian film. You can put in a lot of different people that could make that film. So instead of focusing on those things, if we are, like Breyon said, like more, you know, concentrate on the story, but have them be from different perspectives, have people behind the camera and in the writers' rooms with different perspectives to make it just more of an authentic, real story of people. Then it will naturally end up being, you know, from all these diverse perspectives of different things that, and will kind of humanize us versus just put us into these boxes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So Squid Game, that's not real then. No. Awesome. So I want to go ahead and transition a little bit. We've talked about how you started, and I want to get to, you know, not so glamorous aspect of success, you know, overcoming fears, and a lot of people have been, you know, taught to conquer their fears before jumping into something new. But I wanted to get your thoughts on being fearless, and while you're still learning and growing into your career, how do you channel that, and how do you build confidence, you know?
I would say fail fast. You know, like you will not learn if you're succeeding every single day. Like your biggest successes are actually going to be out of your failures. So it's not being afraid to fail, but just realizing that when you do fail, there's something for you to learn, and being excited about that opportunity to kind of, you know, put that into perspective and being able to do something different the next time. You know, you learn again more by failing than you do by succeeding any day. So not being intimidated about, you know, things not necessarily being perfect or things necessarily going your way, and realizing like that is just all part of the process, to be able to elevate yourself, to be able to move forward, to be able to make, you know, systemic changes, and really, you know, being okay with not being number one all the time. We're in a very highly competitive, you know, society. And, you know, I think a lot of times we're the hardest on ourselves when everybody else thinks that you're doing just fine. And so it's really realizing that together, you know, we're a community, and, you know, we just need to build each other up in terms of, you know, not being afraid, putting yourself out there, and really learning from those failures so that you can succeed in the way that you want to.
I love that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I also, you know, and failing and being accountable and like figuring out how to approach that, who to talk to, acknowledging you made the mistake, which is the hardest part, right? Instead of burying it and like, oh, I never make mistakes, like really go to your boss and say, okay, I screwed this up. How do I fix it? You know, help walk me through it. This is what I was thinking. Come with solutions. They may be guidance, find those mentors who can help you so that when you do make those mistakes, they're helping guide you to why, what happened, how do we fix this, and how do you get better? Like Magali said, like, how do you improve upon yourself from this?
Absolutely. Breyon, do you have anything on this?
Yeah, actually, it's, I think I'm kind of the great person to talk about it since I'm at the start stage. And I don't think being afraid to be in a position is ever going to go away, because you're always, the bar is always going to be put higher and higher, and you're gonna be like, I don't know if I could get there, but you just have to be willing to jump off that cliff and just go with it. And to go along, like, even though like, let's say a good example of a show I would say that's amazing that shows this is a show called Ranking of Kings. And at the end of the show, I'm sorry for spoilers, but the little kid, he gets to be king, but he realizes that's not everything he wants to be. Like, there's more to life. He wants to keep moving and growing. So once you get to that place, don't think like, oh, this is over. You still want to grow. Like, that's not where you want to end. So
Absolutely. I always tell our students, if you're not meeting fear in the eyes, almost on a daily basis, there's no way to really know how capable you are of things and to push yourself. I think everybody here can say when you were, most scared in a moment or had no idea what you were doing, but you still pushed through it, you realized, oh, okay, I could do this, And so I think that's one way to kind of realize we all need to be just fearless. And so wonderful. I want to go ahead and ask Magali and Robin, I want to ask you a couple questions. Magali, I'll start with you. So let's say a student wanted to reach out to a high level executive at the company that they're interning for. It could be, like Clive Davis, Steven Spielberg, whatever. And if they had a great suggestion or an idea, how would someone suggest that? How would they reach out to someone at that level?
Well, the first thing is that you kind of want to understand the protocol and like the dynamics of the culture and the organization that you're in. There are going to be some executives that are, open to you to come to them directly. And there's going to be some, executives that are going to want you to kind of go up the chain of command to be able to bring those ideas. But I think first and foremost is really, leaning in and getting advocates around you. So leaning into your manager, leaning into your mentors, and really, finding those that are going to support you and, challenge you on your ideas. Like, make sure, did you think it through all the way? Are there different avenues or ways that you can look at that so that when you're actually bringing it to that executive, you have, your biggest vetted idea that you can. Not to say that like you alone as one person, can't come up with amazing ideas, but it's amazing, how much bigger your idea can grow and what it can actually turn into if you're just bouncing off ideas off of people and you're brainstorming, because like you start planting that seed to start something and it just grows and blossoms when you actually have these conversations with other people. So I'd really just start with finding people that you trust, getting their opinion, because they may tell you like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, maybe we should do this, or maybe you should look at like that. And then kind of going up the chain and, kind of understanding, the culture of the organization that you're in to be able to bring that idea forward. But I would say, if you're like absolutely passionate about something, that, there needs to be, changes within your organization, and that you feel, intuitive and you feel like inclined naturally to go and make those changes, really nothing should stop you, like nothing's going to happen, if you bring forth a good idea. But I think like to what Robin was saying before is like, it really, if there's a problem, bring a solution. Like, don't come and complain to anybody about an issue unless you have 1, 2, or 3 solutions on how you can fix it. And you'd be surprised that, just by, bringing these things up, how quickly, problems or issues or ideas can be implemented. But executives and leadership and just, thought leaders within organizations really appreciate it when you've thought it through and you've actually come with a solution, or suggestions to different, issues that they have. And a lot of times you'd be surprised that they maybe have no insight into that or visibility, and, they're right on board with really actually making these, meaningful changes within the organization.
Absolutely. And I think you can all kind of agree that a lot of times the high level executives don't have that visibility, like you said, Magali. They don't know what's happening maybe further down the chain. And so, and bringing those solutions is definitely necessary, because the last thing you want is for them to answer your, let them know there already is a solution. So,
Right.
Robin, I wanted to touch on being fearless, and how many times have you heard no or dealt with rejection? And what advice can you give students who are afraid of rejection?
The problem, you just can't be. And also, this is LA Film School, so I mean, you went into a profession that, like, that's kind of part of forever. Like, you're going to hear it over and over and over forever. You mentioned Steven Spielberg, still, I'm sure, gets told no. It's just part of life. So you do have to kind of pull yourself up, get to it, and start doing it. I will say, I think Magali hit on a really important point, and that you need to find those champions, because you need to have your buffer around you, right? You need to have those mentors. How do I do this? How can I approach this? So that you can set yourself up for the best success possible. If you come in unprepared, you probably are going to get no way more than if you have different ideas. And okay, this isn't going to work. Well, what if we change this? And aren't so stuck on just what I want, and this is how I need to approach it. It's really talking to everyone, getting different ideas, and then coming to the table with different options, right? And so then if there's one no here, maybe there's a yes here, or maybe there's a sidestep to here, which will get you to a better place.
Right. Have you ever had any experience of pitching an idea to a group of executives or other team members who might not understand your, specific cultural perspective? And if so, how did you handle that?
I feel like everybody's background is different. So when you go in knowing that everyone's perspectives is going to be different is important. Reading the room is really important. I've gone in expecting to pitch one thing multiple times, and as you start the discussion, you realize very quickly they're going to say no to that. So then you kind of go in with, okay, well, what is B and C? And I, because of what I do, I am always coming in from the employee perspective. A lot of the times what I'm pitching are things to, finance. And so their job is to say no, and my job is to say yes. And so it really is trying to find that middle ground and where you can come together.
Yeah. Magali and Breyon, do you both have any experience with that, or anything you'd like to add with that?
Yeah,
Actually, I pitched a story a couple days ago, and I'm mixed. I'm Black and Mexican, and I don't look like it. So I was doing this story called The Battle of the Bands, and it's about a situation where I have experience in the Black community. Rock isn't really a genre that's very welcomed in the Black community. And I wanted it to be about a teenager named Isaac who wants to be in a rock band, but his family isn't really into that. So he has to hide his life from his family. And so he does, and he starts a rock band with his friends from school, but they need a manager. And they go to the most sleaziest, cheapest manager there is, but the manager doesn't tell them that they're gonna actually have to battle with their music. And so the story goes on, but at the end, he loses himself and his music and stuff like that, and his family. And at the end, they become the king of rock, but he doesn't want to be that anymore because he lost himself and everything. And they really like that story. And yeah, So I was really scared because it was at the spur of the moment. I didn't know, but
Yeah.
they really liked it and they thought I should continue with the story.
Well, that's good. Wonderful. Magali, would you like to add something with this?
Yes, I think, first and foremost, it's like listening. It's like listening to other people's perspectives first, kind of get an understanding on where they're at, and then you can interject your experience. Because, I form the Black Employee Network. I'm the chapter president in Irvine. There's many chapters, but I started it here. And I'm also mixed, so I totally understand where Breyon's coming from. Everybody thinks I'm everything else but what I really am, right? And I'm Magali, right? Like, that's who I am. So, there was a time where, after, everything's happened in 2020, everybody wants to get engaged and really kind of learn and understand, like, what is it that they can do? And everybody has their perspective, but they weren't necessarily like relatable to those experiences. And so, I, was in an organization where they were unaware that I was actually mixed. And so they were talking of, my demographic is if I wasn't in the room, and they were really just trying to kind of seek answers and where they can uplift the community and do more. And so I really, kind of stuck back and listen. And it was kind of surreal because it was like, you're in a movie and everybody's talking about you, but they don't know you're there. But instead of just interjecting, it was really important for me to really understand where they were coming from so that I could help, right? And so by me, taking a step back, listening, understanding what their truth was, what it is that they understood, I was then able again to come in with some solutions and say, hey, it would be great if we started a chapter of the Black Employee Network here in Irvine. It's not predominantly African American. We do have a lot of allies. But if we're utilizing this forum to be able to educate people within our, organization, like, this is the good that we can do. And so that was like the starting point of me actually becoming and stepping up and, becoming the chapter president. But it was really because, they were trying to be allies. They were trying to understand, how that they could do more. But again, I came with the solution. So now, I was able to kind of step into the role that I am now and being able to help serve, my community overall and the employees, within the organization as well.
Yeah, and I think that's incredible, and a lot of times, people that have the solutions, then our schedules slowly become more and more, and we
Right.
always have the solutions because we've done it before. And so wonderful. So next I want to ask, this is for everybody. Has anybody ever experienced imposter syndrome? Anybody?
I suffer from it the most. Because like anything I do, no matter what I've already done, I feel like I'm not enough still. Like even with the internship I got into, I was feeling really guilty because I felt like somebody else could have had that spot besides me that was like more into it. So I felt like really like, but like my coworkers, they reminded me like, no, we liked your talent. We liked your personality. It fit what we are looking for. So don't worry about that. And I have to constantly remind myself, like, I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing in what I do. So
keep putting those Post-its up on the mirror. Everybody needs those, a reminder for ourselves every day. Magali and Robin, do you have anything to add to this?
I'm a perfectionist, so I'm like constantly battling myself. I'm like, even if I did everything I wanted to achieve in my life, like, I don't know if that's ever going to be good enough. So I definitely think it's something that I, struggle with on the daily. But I'm working through it.
I think, yeah, I agree with you. There's always more. But what you have to remember is, we all talk about how, there's not enough opportunities for women. We know for a fact that we, get passed up and, those things happen. And so when you do have success, you have to know that is because you are worth it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't also not be worthy and, oh, I got promoted. I shouldn't have, because not enough women are getting promoted. So you you've got to just take yourself out of that and know that you are worth something. And that worth is when it is visible, and when people recognize it, you have the opportunity to then show other women behind you. So then that kind of helps you push yourself along, I think, and gets you out of your own head.
Right. So let's navigate with that. Let's take what we've just, shared. Now, how would you thrive in a male dominated industry? Is this, any advice that you can give where, you just got this new promotion and now you're in a new role and there's men everywhere and you're feeling like you're the only female in the room, which I'm sure has happened many times. So what advice can you give? This is for everybody. So whoever.
Magali, I feel like you would for sure have it more.
Yeah, I've been on many teams where I'm the only female. First, it's like, yes, I'm here, so you feel like you're, having to, be the stand-in for all women that don't have a voice at the table. So it can be overwhelming at times, but overall, I feel like you feel really good that you actually have a seat at the table, right? And you know that every move that you're making is being watched. I think the thing that's worked for me the most is like really always figuring out how I can provide value and how I can first and foremost help others. I've found that, if I go out of my way and I'm being very helpful, whether that be through training, whether that be, just like showing someone the ropes or, if you're in a quick bind and, you stay behind and help them. That's worked for me because, the moment that I may need support, they'll be the first to step in and kind of, help support me. So, being, that serving mentality in terms of, you're here to provide value and you're here to serve others and uplift each other, has always, kind of worked for me in a male dominated, role or, organization, where, you may run into those other feelings of like, should I even be here? Am I the right person? But you are because you've been able to help them so many other times. And again, once you're in that pinch or that bind and you need support, they're more than happy to kind of jump in there and help and uplift and support you as well, because you've been there for them every single time.
Do you think that's why you strive for that perfectionism, is you're trying to kind of be around this environment where you can teach others and be in that? Is there any correlation with those?
I love to train. I love to teach, right? And I also love to be in positions where, if I'm telling somebody that, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z, that I'm not telling somebody to do something that I can't do myself. And so I'm always going to put myself out there and learn the things that I'm asking other people to do because I want to make sure that I can also support them in the ways that they need to be supported.
Awesome. Robin?
Yeah, I will say I fortunately am in the position that I am the one who can say, oh, we don't have any women. And so I'm the one that hires and says, there's not enough women on this team, and forces them to look at women or diversity or whatever, which has served me well and served every organization I've worked with for well also. And I think everybody's better for it and acknowledges they're better for it. I've been in those situations. I think, it's a hard thing because part of our ability to kind of step back and be the caregiver helps in those situations. You don't want, you do then sometimes get railroaded in those things. But being able to, take your strengths of that calm or that caregiver in those kinds of situations, can help you because it makes it less intimidating to be in a room full of somebody else, something different. And you'll learn how to maneuver through that for yourself, whether it is to be louder or to be stronger or to have a better story or to have better ideas. There are a lot of different ways to make yourself valuable in that room. You just have to figure out what works for yourself.
Yeah. So I want to kind of go into a wellness side of things because with powerful women comes a lot of relaxation that we need. We need to be able to take care of ourselves. And so it's kind of a big topic. And especially, like I said, everybody's incredibly busy here. And so it's hard for us to sometimes balance, the eating healthy, working out, yoga, if you've got the patience for it. How do you practice self-care? And can you give any advice to students on how they can balance that?
I can relate to this so much because I've actually gotten health issues because I don't take care of myself. I don't put myself before work or anything. And I just want to say it's really, really, really important to take time out for yourself no matter what you're doing, because at the end of the day, you still need yourself to do that. So if you're not there, if you're sick and unable to do it, then you're ruining the whole point of even working really hard on what you're doing, because you still need yourself. So yeah, just take at least an hour for yourself.
Is there anything that you do? I mean, what do you do as a student? Are you, going for walks? Are you doing backflips? Is there anything that you do that kind of helps you to, relax and kind of recenter yourself?
I draw and I daydream, and I usually ride my bike if I had one. Yeah, but that's pretty much what I do.
Awesome. Wonderful. Magali and Robin?
I definitely, I do work out a lot. I've started running a lot. I think it's really hard. The last 2 years particularly have been hard because there is no, I mean, as much as the commute is very stressful when you're in traffic, it also at least separates you a little bit from work, and kind of gives that separation between the office and home, where I think it's been harder to take that time when you're sitting here and your computer's here and what else are you going to do? So I set up a home gym, and I like at least try to take out, whether it's 15 minutes, you kind of have to just get over the hump of like, just stand up for 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. No one's judging you, and just kind of getting up and moving around, I think is really important. When we were not at home, I would definitely I take my sick days, I take mental health days. I believe in taking all your sick days because it's important, and that is what keeps you healthy. I believe in taking all my vacation days. I recommend everybody always take all their vacation days because you do need that break. With my team, I make sure that when they are taking vacation, of course, they for sure check in every once in a while and check their email, but that they really do check out and that they aren't answering emails. They're not working on vacation, because you're better and you're more efficient when you have that time to download, just kind of cut off and then come back.
Right. Magali?
I'm like, I might embarrass my kids, but I thoroughly enjoy dancing, around the house as I'm doing chores. It may not be complete downtime, but I have fun while I'm doing it. Singing and dancing is one of my favorite things. But if I were to give advice to my younger self, one of the things that I would have wished that I would have done or taken seriously was meditation. I've only got into that the last, 5 years. And I could only imagine just how much more centered, how much more I would have trusted myself, and how much better that I would have felt if I would have started, when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, anytime before, when I did. So I really, really would encourage, everybody that hasn't tried meditation to really try to do that. And there's many ways to do that. I mean, there's YouTube, there's many different apps that you can kind of, try. And it's not a one size fits all. There's certain meditations that will work for you. There's some that don't. So don't get discouraged the first time around, and really try to find something that works for you, and trust, and listen to yourself. So that's what I do for my wellness.
Awesome. I think this is the first time I've heard of anybody talk about wellness in in the past 2 years specifically, they did not mention a Peloton. So I'm very impressed with that, because everybody's like, I'm getting a Peloton or I'm going to get a rower. And it's like, I'm guilty of part of that. Okay. I'll be honest. But it's good to hear that, you found ways to take care of yourselves and fill your cup back up, because it's so important. And it's good to be, going after answering every email as quickly as possible and responding to people to let them know that you are responsible and you're available. But it's also one where, it's okay to shut off. It's okay to have a deadline, because that also speaks values of who you are. Oh, I'm done at 6. I got to clock out. I'm done, and you're done for the day. So I love the answers that you all provided on that. As far as, being a mentor, can all of you speak on that and how that's impacted you and how you, kind of go about that? Just being a mentor?
I've never been a mentor. I've always been the mentee. I don't think I've lived life enough to be a mentor. I feel like you have to live, or have enough experience to relate to somebody else.
I think you could be a mentor right now. I truly believe that. So I think you should step into that. I'm speaking that to you now. You should be a mentor. I think you'd be an incredible mentor, just based on what you've shared today.
Thank you.
I think being a mentor is probably one of the greatest gifts, and just being able to work in an organization, whether that be your own company or, more of a corporate setting. If I look back and I look at all the things that I've done, like I've been in individual contributor roles, I've been, been a manager, and I can wholeheartedly say that being a mentor and being able to have conversations with someone that, doesn't necessarily believe in themselves or doesn't have a skill set, that they need to be able to get to where they want. It's way more fulfilling for me to be able to uplift and help people not only be able to do for themselves, but be able to do for their families and do for their communities, than me going out and doing it myself. It's funny because you feel like, oh, you by you doing certain things, it's going to make you feel good. But really, I feel like the most satisfaction that I've gotten out of any of the work that I've done is uplifting and mentoring other people and seeing what they're able to do in the world. And it's also more scalable. One person, I can only do so much, right? But if you're infusing, those gifts that people naturally have in themselves, and you let them kind of give them a little bit of seeds and they kind of go off and running, you see just so much more good in the world. And you just see just kind of that capability expand, which I feel is just, it's rewarding and more than I could ever do on my own.
Yeah. Robin?
I'm very fortunate that I have worked with a lot of people. I have a mentee at Better Youth also, but who have really grown and, developed really successful careers and have come back and, I've helped them get to other places and to that next level, which is, something that I'm most proud of. Right. It's, your own success is great, but also the success of others is even better, because it shows that, what you're doing is right. It's very tangible. If I'm doing this job and somebody else is doing really well and remembers me, and 10 years down the road is, an executive, that is awesome. And I gave them their first shot, or, I helped them get the skills to get to that next level. I love those things.
Right, which is why it's so important for community and sticking together and helping one another out, because we never know when we could be used in somebody else's life for a specific role. So I like that. Robin, I want to ask you specifically regarding a hiring question for students. Some students might be graduating soon. And so what exactly are HR teams looking for when they're hiring? And, what should be on a resume? What should not be on a resume?
I will say have tangible success stories if you have them. Definitely highlight your internships. these are entry level roles. And so you're not going to be an expert at anything. You're not a CEO. Just, put down what you have. Your resume should be a page. I know there's a lot of new formatting and everything, but you just don't have enough experience. So make sure it's a page, make it clean. I would say, classes that were relevant, internships that are relevant, and, really gear your resume towards things what you want to do. So it's, a lot of people, you may have part-time jobs, you may have done a lot of different internships that are kind of disparate because you were trying to figure it out, which is fine, but just put them in an order so it shows kind of a progression towards what you want to do.
Yeah, I like that. So this isn't really, I want to ask specifically because we went through this pandemic where a lot of students were potentially looking for jobs, but maybe things weren't available.
Yeah.
Do you look at resumes and see that gap and, fault them or how do you,
nobody can fault anyone at this
Yeah.
point.
It's your fault.
I was in financial services during the, financial crisis of 2009, and literally 90% of resumes had a break, somewhere around there, and was pretty jumpy for the next couple of years. Like, it is what it is. We all know it. Nobody can say, what do you mean you didn't work in 2020 in November? Like, nobody can say that, especially for a film student. Like, there were no productions, right? So you couldn't have even supplemented with your friends short. Like, there wasn't anything to do. So everybody knows.
Wonderful. So I hope students can understand it's okay. The two gap is okay.
And the other thing is, there also a lot of internships got canceled, right? And so where that couple of years where you were really looking for internships, and there are a lot of places, I used to be at Stars, you had to be a rising junior to be an intern. Well, you're in your junior and senior year are in quarantine. So that also, people are taking that into account for sure.
That's good to hear. So this question is for everybody, and I want to know one realistic piece of advice that you wish someone had given to you when you first started out. So, Magali, I know you touched a little bit on this, before, but is there anything that you wish someone had given, some advice that you'd been given when you first started out?
I think it's work your gift, provide value, and serve others. We all have gifts. You just have to know what that is, lean into it, and don't necessarily try to fall into somebody else's mold. Know what your purpose is, find what your purpose is, and lean into that and be confident.
Breyon?
That not to worry about not knowing something about the job, because usually they'll teach you. And that's what happened for a lot of people that's just starting out. People are really willing to help you, and also network, because I accidentally network a lot. So yeah, I think networking is really, really good, and push forward, not be the person that stands in the back.
I like that. Robin?
Well, I will say Breyon also intentionally networks and does it very well, and does also lean in and make herself valuable. So, which is why she is an intern at Skydance, because not only was she out there and working really hard with our partnership, our CCO had said to the cohorts, definitely feel free to reach out, and Breyon did, and emailed her directly, which I'm sure was scary. Dana is amazing, but she is, a very senior level executive who's been in the business for a long time and has produced a ton of movies. And Dana sat down with her, and it was because not just somebody emailed her, because I'm sure she gets hit up a lot, but it was somebody who has shown their value and really made an impact. And I think that is important, is exactly what she said. Networking is critical, because you never know who's going to help you get a job in a year, and who, you know, just keep them going. And know your worth, because, you know, kind of what we were going back to before, you are worth something, you know. And one of the things I talk a lot to a lot of women about the gender pay gap, because a lot of times, you know, women will tend to be more flexible on salary, and men will throw out a salary. So if you are an entry-level person and you're saying, I'll take whatever, I just really want this job, and somebody else says, I want 50K, and they get 50K and you get 38K, then the next job, you know, or you get promoted, that gap continues to grow. And if somebody lowballs you and says, well, I want to pay you $15 an hour for a manager level role, do you want to work for them? You have worth, you have value, you have gone to school to learn all these things. So know that, and know that about yourself, and feel confident.
Yeah. So Breyon, it sounds like you'd be a great mentor for helping people network. I think that would be incredible. Great.
Yeah, I guess
So-
I'll try.
Great. So I want to end this part with a similar exercise that we did at the beginning, where we finished the sentences. And I want to go ahead and start with, I'm a powerhouse woman that, and then finish that.
I guess I'll go. I'm a powerhouse woman, and I could stand up to anybody and not let anything bring me down.
Yeah. Love it. Robin?
I am a powerhouse woman that tries to lead by example.
Love that. Magali?
I'm a powerhouse woman that has grit and determination.
Now let's answer this one. I empower other women by.
I can go first. I empower other women by giving them a voice and listening.
That's good. Breyon?
I empower other women by standing up for them and standing up for what's right, and I'm not afraid to raise my voice when I need to.
Yeah. Magali?
I am, wait, can you tell me what the question is again? I'm sorry.
I was
Like, wait a
good.
second.
I know, right? We need like pointers, like text up here. I empower other women by.
I empower other women by having real conversations and giving them tips and tricks to be their authentic self.
I like that. And Sid in the chat is forcing me to answer this question as well. So I'll say I empower other women by elevating them and allowing them to see what they're truly capable of. So I love this. So what an amazing discussion. Thank you guys. So let's open it up to the audience for questions. I want to see if there's anything that is out there in the universe and the world. Anybody have any questions at all? So I think the events team can kind of help filter out these questions. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not seeing anything in the chat yet. Or maybe I'm missing something. Let's wait and see. Okay, if there's no questions. And I believe everybody was able to provide their social media information, and we'll be sure to get that out there for everybody to see. And, you know, thank you, ladies, again. We appreciate your time. And this has been an awesome conversation. I know a lot of students are going to, you know, benefit from this. And I hope you enjoyed yourselves as much as I did. To everybody watching, if you'd like this event, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us, Better Youth, Amazon, and Skydance on social media. Please also check our online calendar for events just like this. And students, you can also check your weekly newsletter. So we've come to the end of this discussion. So thank you again to Magali, Breyon, and Robin. Happy Women's History Month to everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening.